Greetings, BookTube. Welcome back to the History Shelf. My name is Peg, and today is my Historathon 2023 quarter four pile of what I'm calling certainties. Not a pile of possibilities, but a pile of certainties. Because with this video, I'll be showing you books that I will be reviewing for different publications. So these are all books that I will, in fact, be reading from cover to cover and writing about. So that's kind of a nice change up. I finished up last quarter. I have one book finished from the pile of possibilities that I did. I did a buddy read with Bill. We're hoping to do a book chat on it. We read H.W. Brand's is Our First Civil War. And I just finished that up. So we're going to schedule our own separate little book chat on that. We've done those in the past before when we buddy read a book. But anyway, now we're moving on to quarter four. And I will have, so far, I've already finished one, and I've already written a review. But I believe these do all fall into the time frame, which is, I believe, 1820 to present. Yes. Yeah, so anyway, guys, I've got a stack. Got a nice little stack here. These are all the books that I'll be reading. One of them is historical fiction. I just wanted to include it anyway. I mean, it's fiction that's historical. So frankly, I think that fits into the goal of what we're doing here. So let me start off with the first one, which I received in a galley format. This book is coming out December 5th. So this will be coming December 5th from Pegasus Books. And this is Soldier of Destiny, Slavery, Secession, and the Redemption of Ulysses S. Grant by John Reeves. Now, so most of this is set after 1820. So, I mean, it's right at the fringe of that. Probably the earliest history that I have here for this time frame. So let me read you a little bit about what this book claims it's about. So Soldier of Destiny by John Reeves presents an original thought-provoking look at Ulysses S. Grant, evoking the life of the general through his conflicted connection to slavery, allowing readers a clearer understanding of this great American. Captain Ulysses S. Grant, an obscure Army officer who was expelled for alcohol abuse in 1854, rose to become General-in-Chief of the United States Army in 1864. What accounts for this astonishing turnaround during this extraordinary decade? Was it destiny, or was he just an ordinary man opportunistically benefiting from the turmoil of the Civil War to advance to the highest military rank? The book reveals that Grant always possessed the latent abilities of a skilled commander, and he was able to develop these skills out west without the overwhelming pressure faced by more senior commanders in the Eastern Theater at the beginning of the Civil War. Grant was a true Westerner himself, and it was his experience in the West before and during the Civil War that was central to his rise. From 1861 to 64, Grant went from being ambivalent about slavery to becoming one of the leading individuals responsible for emancipating the slaves. Before the war, he lived in a pro-slavery community near St. Louis, where there were very few outright abolitionists. During the war, he gradually realized that emancipation was the only possible outcome of the war that would be consistent with America's founding values and future prosperity. Soldier of Destiny tells the story of Grant's connection to slavery in far more detail than has been done in previous biographies. And this part, I think, is germane. Grant's life story is an almost inconceivable tale of redemption within the context of his fraught relationships with his anti-slavery father and his slave-holding wife. Because Julia had like house slaves or servants. They called them servants, but they were slaves when she was growing up in Missouri. This narrative explores the poverty, inequality, and extraordinary vitality of the American West during a crucial time in our nation's history. Writers on Grant have tended to overlook his St. Louis years, which spanned 1854 to 60, even though they are essential for understanding his later triumphs. So it was an interesting book. It's not super long. It kind of weighed in at 239 pages. So it's not a comprehensive story about Grant, nor was it intended to be. Again, this is one I've already read. Um, and I've written a review, so I don't want to go into too much detail, and I will share that review on my social media. Suffice it to say, this was a far more critical book, and that's fine. It's fine that people want to, focus on certain things, but I found he really kind of focused on Grant's drinking too, and a lot of that has been debunked. So I just, it's like, are we trying to be fresh, by bringing this old, chestnut back up again? I mean, just beating a dead horse with that, I thought. So, but I did find his focus on his St. Louis years and also his kind of relationship with his father and father-in-law very interesting. I think it's been told elsewhere, but I think he made some use of some letters that between Grant and his father Jesse and Colonel Dent was his father-in-law. It was Julia Dent's father, which I just thought were very revealing and interesting. So I mean, it does have its good and bad points. But this is one I've already read for Historathon 2024 23. Still in 2023, quarter four. All right. Now let's move on to the ones I haven't read yet. Okay. Uh let's go in order of I'm reading this one right now, actually. I started this one last night and I was up kind of late getting a nice big jump into it. I'm about 50 odd pages in. And this is definitely more of the 20th century history. This is a book that hasn't come out yet, but it'll be coming out on November 28th. And this is, if you like true crime, you'll probably be interested in this. This is Starkweather, The Untold Story of the Killing Spree That Changed America by Harry N. McLean, or McLean. This is being put out by Counterpoint Books. It's a big one, about 432 pages, but I just started it last night. At first I was like, who is this about? And I'm like, saw that picture. I'm like, oh, looks a little bit familiar to me. So I'm already making notes on the book in my bookmark here. So we'll start off with this. It's the definitive story of Charles Starkweather, often considered to be the first mass killer in the modern age of America. On January 21st, 1958, 19-year-old Charles Starkweather changed the course of crime in the United States when he murdered the parents and sister of his 14-year-old girlfriend and possible accomplice, Carol Ann Fugate. Or is it Fugate? I don't know. I think it's Fugate. In a house on the edge of Lincoln, Nebraska. Lincoln, Nebraska has had some weird shit. Sorry. They've had some weird crap happening out there. And I'm thinking of the Brandon Tina murder, which I was in the Air Force and stationed in Omaha, Nebraska, and they were still talking about like the trial and the guys who were put away for it. But I was like, what is this about? It was pretty bizarre. And tragic. Yeah, so this happened in Lincoln, Nebraska in 1958. A lot of strange things happened on the plains, man. They then drove to the nearby town of Bennett, where a farmer was robbed and killed. When Starkweather's car broke down, the teenagers who stopped to help were murdered and jammed in a storm cellar. My goodness. I don't know a lot about this case, so I knew that there was the book in the intro says there was like 9 or 10 murders in the course of 9 days or something. That's crazy. By the time the dust settled, 10 innocent people were dead, and the city of Lincoln was in a state of terror. Schools closed. Men with rifles perched on the roofs of their houses. The National Guard patrolled the street. If there is a cultural version of PTSD, the town suffered from it. Starkweather and Fugate's capture and arrest and the resulting trials about the killing spree received worldwide coverage. The event would serve as the inspiration for the movie Natural Born Killers and Springsteen's iconic album Nebraska. Today, the story has dropped far from the national consciousness. With new material, new reporting, and new conclusions about the possible guilt or innocence of Fugate, the tale is ripe for an updated and definitive retelling. In Starkweather, best-selling author Harry McLean tells the story of the shocking event and its lasting impact, a crime spree that struck deep into the heart of the heartland. All right, so that is on my list of contemporary history for quarter four. It's interesting, Harry McLean says in the intro, I mean, he is from these areas. He knew the son of two of the people that were murdered. He's from that area, and it's kind of almost like his personal story of like Nebraska. And he tries to bubble up the good things about Nebraska in the beginning of the book, and I'm sure he'll try to weave that in throughout. But so far, so good. So far, so good. All right. And now the rest of these are untouched. I have not begun these yet, and these will need to be happening fairly soon. I'll be starting this one really soon for a review. So this one is called We Are Your Soldiers, How Gamal Abdel Nasser Remade the Arab World by Alex Rowell. This is put out by Norton, W.W. Norton. This book is coming out, do I have an exact date? It just says it's coming out in November. It's coming out in November. It doesn't give the exact date yet, but let's take a look-see. Do I have a blurb? This is a searing exploration of authoritarianism in the Middle East through the legacy of Gamal Abdel Nasser's years in power in Cold War era Egypt. Nasser, the larger-than-life Egyptian president who ruled for 18 years between the coup d'etat he led in 1952 and his death in 1970, is best known for wresting the Suez Canal from the British and French empires and befriending such iconic revolutionaries as Fidel Castro and Che Guevara. Yet there is a darker side to Nasser's regime. He was a brutal authoritarian whose legacy lies at the heart of the violent and repressive order that still prevails throughout the Arab world today. In We Are Your Soldiers, Alex Rowell focuses on 7 countries: Egypt, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Yemen, and Libya, to reassess Nasser's impact in the Arab sphere. Drawing on a deep reading of Arabic sources, extensive interviews, and material never before published in English, Rowell offers a radical re-examination of Nasser's rule and a new understanding of the politics of the Middle East. So, that should be fairly interesting. I think it'll be interesting. I'm always wanting to learn more about just global politics and world affairs and things like that, and just history of different countries, political history. So, We Are Your Soldiers. It's all about Nasser in Egypt. So, this book is coming out in November, next month. And I will be reading it and reviewing it for the Washington Independent Review of Books. Woo! Oh, yes. So, this book kind of is on the borderline because it starts. Should this be on my list? Well, I'm gonna say that. Well, maybe not. Shit. Sorry, guys. But okay, but it goes up into modern times. I'm gonna include it anyway, but okay, screw it. I'm just gonna. Part of this book is definitely part of the 20th century. Okay, but we're gonna include this, and this is Wahhabism: The History of a Militant Islamic Movement by Cole M. Bunzel, and this was put out by Princeton University Press. I've actually got a new outlet for my review on this. It's World Historical Encyclopedia, or World History Encyclopedia. I will be reviewing for them. It's a new channel or a new outlet that I haven't done before. So this, I think, is due by the end of the month of November. But this book is already out. But let's go ahead and take a look. So I apologize, it does cover other eras, but for the purposes of this, I figured a good majority will focus on the 20th century. Okay, so in the mid-18th century, a controversial Islamic movement arose in the central Arabian region of Najd that forever changed the political landscape of the Arabian Peninsula and the history of Islamic thought. Its founder, Muhammad ibn Abd al-Wahhab, taught that most professed Muslims were polytheists due to their veneration of Islamic saints at tombs and gravesites. He preached that true Muslims, those who worship God alone, must show hatred and enmity toward these polytheists and fight them in jihad. Cole Bunzel tells the story of Wahhabism from its emergence in the 1740s to its taming and co-opting by the modern Saudi state in the 1920s, and shows how its legacy endures in the ideologies of Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State. And that's primarily why I want to include it with this quarter's reading. The heck? Wow, sorry. There was a guy just walking down my street, my window's open, and I thought he was naked. I think he was jogging, but he's got no shirt on. And his running shorts were like skin tight and they were almost flesh colored. So that's why you saw me do a double take. I was just like, what is happening out my window right now? What are we going to do? Okay. Drawing on a wealth of primary source materials, Bunzel traces the origins of Wahhabi doctrine to the religious thought of medieval theologian Ibn Taymiyyah and examines its development through several generations of Wahhabi scholars. While widely seen as heretical and schismatic, the movement nonetheless flourished in central Arabia, spreading across the peninsula under the political authority of the Al Saud dynasty until the invading Egyptian army crushed it in 1818. The militant Wahhabi ethos, however, persisted well into the early 20th century, when the Saudi kingdom used Wahhabism to bolster its legitimacy. This incisive history is the definitive account of a militant Islamic movement founded on enmity toward non-Wahhabi Muslims, and that is still with us today in the violent doctrines of Sunni jihadis. A lot of relevant reading for this quarter. I'll be taking a lot of notes on this one. A lot of notes. So we've got Wahhabism. So that is another of my reads for the quarter. Okay. Continuing on, I'll be reviewing this book for Historical Novels Review, which is a publication I've been with for many years, and I am now a U.S. reviews editor for. I'm very happy about, but I can still write reviews as well. And I decided I really wanted to read this. So I'm reviewing two books for them, one nonfiction and one fiction. Historical Novels Reviews is obviously mostly about historical fiction, but they, in their journal online, they also like to, about 10% of their reviews will be history, nonfiction. And this is one of them. So I was really pleased to be able to volunteer myself for this book. Let's see. Oh, I do have a pub sheet. Fantastic. This is called White House Wild Child. This looks great. How Alice Roosevelt broke all the rules and won the heart of America. All right. During Theodore Roosevelt's presidency the glare is... Here we go. During Theodore Roosevelt's presidency from 1901 to 1909, when Mark Twain called him the most popular man in America, his daughter, Alice Roosevelt, mesmerized the world with her antics and beauty. Alice was known for carrying a gun, a copy of the Constitution, and a green snake in her purse. When her father told her she couldn't smoke under his roof, she climbed to the top of the White House and smoked on the roof. Oh, I like her already. She became the most famous woman in America, and even the world, predating Princess Diana and Jackie Kennedy as an object of public obsession. As her celebrity grew, she continued to buck tradition, push against social norms and pull political sway behind the curtain of privilege and access. She was known for her acerbic wit and outspoken tendencies, which hypnotized both the social and political world. Brilliantly researched and powerfully told, Shelley Fraser Mickle, and that's the author I've neglected to mention, Shelley Fraser Mickle, places the reader in the time and place of Alice and asks what would it have been like to be a strong-willed, powerful woman of that day. So how fantastic! And this is from Imagine Publishing, which is a imprint I haven't heard of from Charlesbridge. I don't know. So Imagine Publishing, and this looks like a fun read. Some great pictures on the inside here, photographs. Yeah, she looks like she's like, come at me, bro. Oh yeah, she looks formidable. I like her. Yeah, I've heard that Alice Roosevelt was just a card, and so I'm eager to learn more about her in this book. So the next one I'll be reviewing, and this one is historical fiction for Historical Novels Review, is by an author I have reviewed several times before for the same publication, and I've really grown to like his work, and that's why I keep volunteering myself to cover his latest releases. I think I've written 2 reviews for his works, and they're really great World War II adventure stories. They're so authentic, like eye-wateringly authentic. The detail is like, I don't even understand some of these things that you're saying, you know. Especially when he has books that are set on like aircraft carriers. He really just knows every square foot inside and out of these you know, just the nautical terms alone. I'm just like, I'm so lost. But anyway, this new book is by P.T. Duderman, and this is Ewo 26 Charlie. If you love a good, authentic World War II like action or adventure standalone novels, like every novel is like a new character, so it's not like a series. But check out P.T. Duderman. He's got some outstanding novels. Again, the authenticity, the historicity, and everything else is just on point. So this is his new book that will be coming out. Oh, and I should mention White House Wild Child is out right now. So anyway, but the P.T. Duderman book is coming out November, give me a date, November 28th. So Ewo, 26 Charlie. What do we have here? This one is set on Iwo Jima, right? Few novelists today. Okay, I'll just hold this up. One of the contemporary true masters of World War II military thriller fiction, P.T. Duderman, returns with a riveting new book, Ewo 26 Charlie. So if any battle epitomizes... Okay, this pub sheet has got some mistakes in it, so I'm going to read the back. All right. The island of Iwo Jima was the epic land and sea battle that produced one of the iconic images of World War II, the Marines raising the American flag on Mount Suribachi, an active volcano that was the site of intense hand-to-hand combat. In this gripping novel, Duderman follows a young gunnery liaison officer, Lee Bishop, who during the ferocious battle for the island is pulled from his station aboard the USS Nevada to serve onshore as a spotter, calling in coordinates for the ship to target with missiles. But Bishop is completely unready for what he will witness and experience. A literal hell, during which 26,000 Americans are killed in a fight to the very last man, which culminates in the blistering, sulphurous tunnels of Suribachi itself, where an entire platoon of Marines is held captive. Ewo 26 Charlie is a dramatic, utterly authentic novel by an award-winning writer. I like that they also use the word authentic because that's what he is. This sounds just like this is going to be brutal. This one's going to have some real hardcore kind of like battle scenes, and but I've really been impressed with his writing. I want to read his other ones that I haven't read yet, but I've read his last 2, and they were great. and I am expecting good things from EWO 26 Charlie. So I'll keep reading P.T. Duderman. PT, you just keep putting those out, and I'll be all over it. So this is my historical fiction entry for quarter four of Historathon 2023. Now, I think this is the final one, but you know what? I might have a couple more books that trickle in over this last, well, I know that I will. Things that haven't been assigned to me yet are, book reviews that I work out with editors that could very well fall into the 1820 to present category. So this is just what I have on hand for now. So as you can tell, I keep busy. And this book I'll be reviewing for Book Trib, probably closer to end of November or December. And this is also World War II, and this is history, so no fiction here. This is a book coming out from Aubrey Publishing Company. Never heard of them, but this is Diplomats and Admirals. From failed negotiations and tragic misjudgments to powerful leaders and heroic deeds, the untold story of the Pacific War from Pearl Harbor to Midway by Dale A. Jenkins. So you can see we have Roosevelt and Yamamoto on the front there on the cover. Yeah. Let's see who our author is. Okay. Right. It's November 1941. Japan and the U.S. are teetering on a knife edge as leaders on both sides of the Pacific strive to prevent war between them. But failed diplomacy, foiled negotiations, and possible duplicity in the Roosevelt administration thwart their attempts. Drawing on now declassified original documents, Diplomats and Admirals reveals the inside story of one fateful year, including how the hidden agendas of powerful civilian and military leaders pushed the two nations toward war, the miscommunications, misjudgments, and blunders that doomed efforts at peace, China's role in the U.S. ultimatum that triggered the attack on Pearl Harbor, why the carrier-to-carrier showdown at Coral Sea proved a fatal mistake for Japan, and how courageous U.S. Navy pilots snatched victory from defeat at the Battle of Midway. The defining events of World War II could have ended very differently, combining perspectives from both military and civilian leaders. Diplomats and Admirals uncovers new insights into the Pacific naval battles that shaped the world and the men behind them. So yeah, I'm looking forward to reading this. It's gonna be a good one. I'm hoping, but I'll be writing a review as well. Now, I should say, so that's what I have right now of my pile of certainties for Historathon quarter four. And that's not everything I'm reading, if you can believe it. I'm also reading a 900-page history. Well, it has nothing to do with it's definitely ancient history, but I'm reading a 900-page history on Byzantium as the new Rome, and that's due at the end of the next month. So I'm still reading a bunch of other history as well. But yeah, but we've got here 7 books. One of them is already read, Dunzo. One I've begun. It's a nice mixture of stuff. We've got Civil War, we've got Middle East history, we've got Islamic theology, religious history, we've got true crime, Starkweather. We've got Gilded Age, Alice Roosevelt. We've got a historical fiction, World War II, and a straight up just history of the Pacific and Pearl Harbor. So that should be pretty good. So let me say this. This is okay. So we're doing World War November. So obviously I'm going to be doing reading on World War I. So those books are not included yet in this video, just because well, we know what memoir we're going to be reading. I should say that. So another book I'll be reading at the same time as Historathon, I'll be reading Testament of Youth by Vera Brittain. It's a World War I memoir. And in conjunction with our World War November readathon reading project. that I'm doing with Christy Lewis, Tristan from Tristan and the Classics, Chelsea from Voyage of a Time Wanderer, and Bill Rutenberg from the Rutenberg Library. So there are some other readings coming online, and I might try to dip into a World War I history as well. I know Bill just put up his video with his suggestions and his recommendations. He's got a pile of books, so I'm still trying to muddle my way through and pick out which ones I can fit in. There's another book which is a fiction, historical fiction for World War I. It's by a new author, but I think I want to do a standalone video because I want to do it as part of my indie author series. So it's great timing as we move into World War I November, or World War November. So anyway, but I think that should be enough for right now for Historathon Q4. Let me know what you think of my selections, my pile of certainties here, and we'll be talking to you guys soon. And I hope you'll be joining us for, tell me what you're reading in Q4. Also, let me know if you're joining along for the World War November fun that we have planned here. So until next time, BookTube, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you.